button. We're live right now, but every time I click go broadcast, I freak out. Like I can feel like my like heart rate going and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like I have to like shake it out. But I think this is gonna be pretty cool. Like you've been correctly following up with me for like 4 months now, right?
Yeah.
And I think you're a better person because of it. But I
Definitely.
know like absolutely nothing about your background, what you're doing,
No
where
problem at
you
all.
are. So like, can you give us like a quick rundown of like everything you've been doing?
Definitely. So I'm 23 years old. I'm a senior in college. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I mean, I was selling crayons at age 3. I go back that far. But for the last 3 years, I basically dedicated my life to cold email. I basically, back in 2015, was after my freshman year of college, I got fired from a job because I couldn't email. It was actually a pretty sweet job if it could have worked.
Wait. Your job required you to email? What do you mean?
I had a job working for a company called Wall Monkeys. And it's a local company. They make like Fatheads, but they make custom wall decals. It's a pretty cool product.
Fathead? I've heard of that before.
Yeah, so they're kind of like that. And the guy, his name's Jason Weisenthal. He lives down the road from me.
Yeah.
On Facebook. I basically met him through Facebook, and he said, "Okay, you're basically going to do sales for us. We're going to hire you. You can work from home. I'll pay you $12 an hour to sit home and cold email.
Yeah,
and do sales for us." And I had never really cold emailed before. And my cold email, I was terrible at it. I got hired in like June, and I think I was fired by August. it was like a $12 an hour job, but I was just terrible. My cold emails were like 500 words long.
Yeah,
it was just not good. And it was just I don't think he made I didn't make a single sale, so he lost money hiring me. But ever since after that, I've just kind of dedicated myself to mastering cold email.
And you did all this while you were in college, right? Because you were a sophomore then, right?
I was a freshman going into my sophomore year. Yeah.
Gotcha. Very cool. So that was like your first job as experiencing like an agency or like digital marketing. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was my first time ever doing kind of marketing. I mean, I owned businesses before that, but they had nothing to do with marketing. I used to own a fishing lure company in high school. I kind of built that on Facebook. But no, that was my first time really cold emailing and doing that kind of marketing.
Gotcha. And so what did you discover while doing cold emailing? Well, first you discovered what didn't work, right? So like what were those like ain't gonna work style emails? Because I'm on the receiving end of some of these emails, and they're usually like, please revert. And I'm like, immediately, that ain't gonna work, right? No reverting allowed. But then they end up being this like huge essays, and I'm like, I don't care. So is that what you were doing?
Mine were huge essays. It was just I basically copy and pasted stuff off the company's website. I kind of added the greeting and copied and pasted a couple blocks of text off the company's website, and then kind of signed it, and something like that. And it didn't work, and it didn't get any response. I think I got a couple of responses, but it just didn't work well. But my kind of experience after that, where I kind of got the hang of it, was I had a friend I met through a Facebook group, and she makes like premium fudge in a jar. So she basically sounds like Etsy, but she packages her.
Is their website like fudgeinajar.com? Is that
something like that? It's like Julie's Fudgies. And so I was helping her. She said, "I want to get in the stores. I want to get this out there. Her fudge in a jar."
Yeah,
and it's actually a pretty good product. I tried it. My family liked it, but so I tried to help her. I was selling it to restaurants, hotels, resorts, all these different places. And that's kind of where I figured out what worked, because I figured out that these places wouldn't want to buy her fudge if they already made the desserts in-house.
Yeah.
That's kind of where my strategy started forming. My first email was, "Hi, do you make your desserts in-house?" If they replied back, "Yes, we make our desserts in-house," I wouldn't pitch them.
Okay, that's interesting.
Then I would pitch them, and that's kind of how it worked. And that's kind of where my strategy started from there. And at the same time, my mentor, his name's David Klein. I'm still really good friends with him. He started Jelly Belly Jelly Beans, and he was starting back in.
Wait, Dan Klein?
David Klein.
David Klein. Okay, because I remember like my first experience with like online-ness and Groupon and Facebook ads and all, this guy named Dan Klein. That was the first guy I talked to on the phone, and like he blew my mind. That was the first time I was like, holy shit, this could be real. But
this guy did the same thing for me. He basically started Jelly Belly Jelly Beans back in the 1970s. Basically, he got forced out, kicked out. He was forced to sell the company for very little. And he's a nice guy. He's in his 70s now. And back in 2016, he wanted to get back in the jelly bean business.
Yeah.
And didn't really know about online stuff and Kickstarter, all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I'd known him for about 2 years and said, PJ, will you run a cold email campaign for me?
Yeah.
And get me into publications for press for the Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah.
And get him into retailers. So he basically set up an email account for me with his name. My name was on anywhere. And I was able to get him in the LA Times, the Chicago Tribune. I got a meetings with Starbucks, Krispy Kreme, Dunkin' Donuts, MGM, Wynn Resorts, all these big companies. And that's kind of where I figured out that, wow, this could be a business.
Yeah.
Do this for people. And that's kind of how it started.
Was that like your first paying client, or were you still like
paying? It was just me giving back to my mentor. But
gotcha. Okay, very cool. So your first experience with digital marketing or ad agency or Facebook ads or whatever we want to call it, right, is like you got hired to do cold emailing and did it all wrong, right? Then somebody says, hey, can you help me get fudge in a jar? And you tried cold emailing and you discover that like people will respond, but if they're doing desserts in-house, it ain't gonna work. Like they're a bad lead, right? So then you start asking, do you do desserts in-house? And that was like a qualifying question. Is that the right way to think about it?
Exactly.
Perfect. And then you start using it and you're getting people in like meetings with Starbucks to sell like more jelly beans and stuff.
Yeah.
That's absolutely insane.
There was a line of coffee flavored jelly beans. They call them like cafe beans. And it was like green tea and mocha and all these different kind of coffee jelly beans. And I got a meetings with Starbucks and their whole buying team and all these big executives. And I was reaching out to the executives, like it wasn't going through contact forms of the website.
Yeah.
I was using LinkedIn, figuring out the format of the email address for the company and emailing these executives. It took a couple tries to figure out the format, but emailing these executives and getting responses and just doing that.
That's so cool. So it was like, so now this has turned into a real business that you can run all while being in college, right?
Exactly.
That's so cool.
I didn't jump right into the done for you service. After that Kickstarter or the email campaign for the Kickstarter, at the time I wasn't really in the digital marketing world yet. It wasn't something I was very familiar with. I was friends on Facebook with a lot of people who were on Shark Tank and created products and inventors. And I realized there was a market because most inventors and product creators wanted to get their products on store shelves.
Yeah.
So there was a market for me to sell them lists of email addresses for Bed Bath & Beyond and Target and Kmart and Walmart, all those executives. So I didn't really start the actual email campaign business until about a year and a half, 2 years ago. I was in the list business for almost 3 years.
That's crazy. So
I realized that, sorry to interrupt, I realized once I started working with digital agencies that they had no clue to cold email. Once I started selling list agencies, I saw them a list, say 1,500 emails for $500. They just had no clue how to cold email.
Yeah. So that was my original challenge because I didn't grow up doing cold email. I grew up in like my Facebook ads journey by talking to people in person. So that's just what I've always done, like conversations with clients. It works. It feels natural. And when I get a list of like 1,000 emails, I go, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, what am I supposed to say? I haven't an effing clue, right? But one of the bullet points that we're going to talk about today is like what you're supposed to say to get a result in an email, right? And you mentioned earlier that you don't you do niches of niches, like lice removal and restaurant equipment and stuff like that, right?
Right.
So like, what would be some of those like 3 steps? Like, let's say I had a list of like 1,000, right? What the hell should I be doing with them? You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, there's different ways to go about it, and it really depends on the niche. The more competitive niche, I know a lot of agency owners love roofers and chiropractors and all that, and dentists. And I mean, I really try to stay away from those just because they're so popular. But the technique you use and the approach you use really depends on the niche. Yeah. My kind of guideline is the more often a person is being, or a business owner is being pitched by agencies, like a really popular niche, the more kind of crafty or subtle you have to be.
Gotcha.
And that's when I'll use, like I call it the 2-prong method, where I use the question and then the reply is the pitch.
Oh, interesting.
So that'll be for a more competitive niche. But if it's a weird niche like lice removal, or even something just like asphalt paving or something like that, for most of my niches, I'll just go straight in, just a 3-sentence email, get them on the phone, get them interested.
So let's say that I am going after a super competitive niche that everybody loves, like chiropractors, gyms, and dentists. Right. Everybody loves those, right? I mean, there's $1 billion if you look at gyms and versus like bike shops, but whatever, fine, right? We're talking about gyms, dentists, and chiropractors. So,
the goal is there. You want to ask a question, but you don't want to ask them. I've seen some marketers teach like, can you handle 20 more leads a month?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the wrong way to go about it.
I'm on the admin account to my client's business manager. I see those 2-3 times a week. Can you handle 20 more patients? So I just mess with them. I go, no.
Yeah.
Like, what? No. Yeah.
You want to figure out how to qualify them to work with you. You want to look at your best clients and see what traits. I mean, you can look at their business or what services they offer, and you want to kind of build qualifying questions.
Yeah.
You don't want to ask, can you handle more patients, or do you offer this service? Because you don't want to bait and switch. This question's going to seem like that. The whole goal is not to bait and switch.
Yeah.
People think that. The goal is to qualify.
Interesting.
So, for example, when I'm working with a client right now who's pitching gyms, and he kind of has a little bit more different solution. He basically helps gyms all the missed appointment tickets. So if a marketer is generating leads for them, a lot of leads don't show up.
Yep, happens normal. Yep.
He has the software he uses for that. So the first question I asked in email was, "Hi, do you have a problem with your sales or membership sales meeting appointment or appointments not showing up?"
Yeah,
that was the first email. They respond back to that, yes, the problem. Then I'll go on to the pitch and get them on a call.
So what would that pitch look like? So let me take a step back. So I'm a gym. I'm getting, can you handle 30 more gym appointments today? It's like, no, it's blah, blah, blah. Not that it's right or wrong, but you just kind of get numb and immune to that, right? You don't have the attention or the interest or whatever. And all of a sudden, I'm getting an email from you that says, do you have a problem with your, what is it again?
Like sales meetings not showing up.
Do you have a problem with your sales appointments not showing up, right? Something like that, like your appointments not showing up.
Right.
And I reply, yes. Now I go into, hey, my name is Jeff. I want to sell you a whole bunch of stuff. Or is there like a better pitch, right?
It's more, I mean, I keep it saying like, hey, whatever the name is, thanks for the quick reply.
Yeah.
I asked if you have this problem because I can help you solve it.
Yeah.
What kind of put a sentence to do about the solution? And then would you be interested in a solution for this problem? When do you have time for a call tomorrow or this week?
Gotcha. And all of a sudden, people are saying yes because you've prompted that you have a problem. It's not bait and switchy.
Right.
And because they have a problem, you kind of have the keys to their wallet. So like if the gym has
and you get them in the frame of mind for that problem.
Yeah. Interesting. And now I'm not pitching digital marketing or Facebook ads. I'm pitching a solution to their problem. And if you've ever been on the phone with me in like the conversation to clients process, what's your problem? Here's how I would solve it. How would you like to work together? Right. So do you recommend like ad agencies take a similar process to that? Or is it like, that's the same type of idea. It's like, it's on the phone, talk about your problem. Here's how I would solve it. How do you want to work together?
Exactly. Right? Focus on the problem. Don't just focus on, you can, for some niches, you can come straight and say, hi, I would like to run an ad campaign for you to bring you clients.
Yeah.
For lice removal, that's all I had to say, and I got results.
That's crazy.
But for those more competitive niches, everyone is pitching marketing, and you kind of have to be more creative.
Gotcha. So if you feel like your future client or industry niche that you're going over is getting hit a whole bunch, you just got to up your game. If they ain't getting hit a whole bunch, you can just go with the generic, can you handle 15 more cases or something like that, right? So how do you find a list of people that have a lice removal service, I guess? Right. Like
there's a scalable way to do it. There's an unscalable way to do it. Both work well.
Yeah.
My kind of, not say it used to be a secret, I didn't used to tell anyone about it, but is Instagram. Instagram is a great way. I think I've posted in the group about it before. You can connect your email account to your iPhone if you have an iPhone or Android.
Yeah.
And Instagram about 2 years ago rolled out a feature where businesses could create profiles on Instagram.
Yeah.
So meaning they could add their email address, their phone number, all that kind of stuff. If I'm targeting lice removal, all I have to do to go to Instagram, type in hashtag lice removal or lice removal service. You're going to find all these lice removal services, and a lot of them have their email address on their profile.
That's so funny.
Yeah. And all you need to do is just, once you connect the email account to your phone, just have the copy typed up on your phone and just copy and paste it.
Yeah.
And I can send out, I have a team that does it for me now. I just hired 40 manual senders to do this. But I can send out 100 emails an hour just doing that.
Wait. So all you're really doing is looking up hashtags on Instagram with that chosen niche.
Yeah.
And then finding their email and then sending it just like that.
And it's like I said, it's not very scalable. But in today's world, Google has all kinds of updates. Sending softwares like Mailshake and Woodpecker are not as reliable as they used to be. When I first started 3 years ago, they were great. I could add 5,000 emails to Woodpecker, send and run it for 10 days, no problem at all. Yeah. That's not possible anymore. You can't really scale with sending software just because Google's adding more technology to it, and they're flagging it, and they're a lot more restrictive. And Google knows they aren't stupid. They know you're using a sending software.
Yeah.
They can tell, and they're going to throttle you and restrict it.
Interesting.
Versus sending manually, where I can create a brand new domain, register it. I use Google Domains, and I can send 500 emails a day the first day.
And so when you say manual, that means you're copying and pasting, typing all that stuff, right?
Yeah, just copy and pasting and typing. Just the same subject line question. That's the only subject line I use, and just copy and paste and hit send.
And Google must be checking to see how fast you're typing, or if you're using like Woodpecker, like they have to know.
With
right?
Woodpecker, for sure. Manually, it's a little different. Manually, I can send, if I send 50 emails an hour, 100 emails an hour, they have no problem.
Yeah.
But with Woodpecker, I can only send maybe 10 to 15, 20 emails an hour, and then they'll start to kind of block you.
Gotcha. And is that, when you say like a manual process, like you've hired someone to do that, or you're doing it yourself, or anybody can like pick and choose, right?
I do it myself, but I'm also, I have 50 clients right now, so yeah. I can't do 50 clients manually every day, so I'm building a team for that. But yeah.
That's so interesting. So let's say that I, a Facebook ad agency, find a case study or ads at work for lice removal. Then right. I can go on Instagram, hashtag lice removal, go to all those profiles, find their email, manually copy and paste, right? Yep. And if it's a non-competitive niche, like lice removal versus say like CrossFit right. gyms, the chances of responses are much higher, right?
Definitely.
And so when
you can come straight out, for something like that, my standard copy is high. Would you be open if someone running an ad campaign to send you people in your area who have likes? Something like that.
Interesting. And so, all right, so they say yes, let's talk. We give them the schedule form. We're on the phone. And it's a similar pitching process of like, let's talk about your problems. Here's a program that solves it. How would you like to work together, right?
Exactly.
That's so cool. And you're rolling this. Well, I guess really my question is like, anybody can do this. Are there reasons why people aren't doing it? Like they're doing it wrong, so they don't get a result, so they stop. It just seems to be like totally possible, right?
Most people I figured out most people don't either have the time for cold email or they just hate it.
Gotcha.
People hate cold email no matter like if they get results with it or not. They just, I don't know. When I first started in the digital agency world, cold email was so much more hated than it was now. I would get attacked constantly, and you're going to jail for cold email, or you're a spammer. And in the last year or two, I've realized the kind of reputation around cold email, at least in the agency world, has changed.
Yeah,
people are a lot more receptive to it than they were a year or 2 years ago. Very
cool. And so you said you have about like 50 or so clients right now, and yep. Are those clients like, are they half on a sending service, half manual? Are you seeing this transition that now that like Google is picking up all these changes?
Yeah, I can't. Manual sending software just aren't reliable because we have to send consistently. And yeah. It's just, for something like Mailshake, it would take us a week to send out 1,000 emails when we need to be sending out 500 a day. And yeah. Woodpecker, they just manually, for some reason, I know it's manual, it's not scalable, but it's for some reason works the best.
Is the problem with Woodpecker, or is the problem solved with like companies like Postfix at like Linux servers, or is like Google just picking up all this stuff and then like putting a hard line in the sand?
I don't remember right now off the top of my head, but around February of this year, Google started. It was a big publicity thing that they're blocking 100 million messages a day to your spam folder. I don't remember the name of the software off the top of my head, but there's a new software company they're working with. I think it's called TensorFlow.
Yeah.
Name. They're starting to work with them, and right around January or February, where they start implementing that,
that's what it was.
Just stopped working.
Interesting. And so, what about DMing them directly from Instagram? Is that limited? Is that possible? How does that work?
Not something I've ever done before, to be honest.
Gotcha. Okay. Very cool. We do have a question about like how long does it take to manually send all those emails? But you have a team to do that, right? I guess he's asking if he did it himself, right?
But doing it myself, it takes me maybe 3 or 4 hours. And I'll do it when I'm walking to the grocery store. I'll do it when I'm walking my dog. I don't just sit down at my desk and do it. You can do it anytime. I'll do it at a stoplight in the car. I'll do it.
Yeah.
Eating my food at a restaurant. I can send. It takes me, if I'm doing it just kind of casually throughout the day, it might take me 6 hours.
Yeah.
But if I'm really focused on doing it, I can send 500 emails in 3 to 4 hours.
And so what type of response are we talking about, like over those 24 hours, 500 emails?
So my benchmark, I don't measure open rates. I don't measure really response rates. My key metric is how many emails does it take to get one person interested?
Okay.
And that, percentage interested. So for chiropractors, for gyms, for more competitive niches, it's about 1%.
Yeah.
If I send out 100 emails, I probably have one person interested. For lice removal, I'll get 15 to 20 people interested. So those weird videos, we have a lot more interested. But the more competitive it is, the lower that rate's going to be. But for standard, for an email campaign, you should be around 3 to 4%. So if you send out 100 emails, you're going to get 3 to 4 people interested.
Interesting. And those, I guess that's really not that big of a deal, because if you just did it, by the time tomorrow, you could have 3 or 4 appointments booked on the phone, right? So like, I think it's interesting, like how many emails you have to send to get someone interested, right?
Right.
Is there, so you mentioned in the bullet points, you mentioned that there's like 3 things to get a result in the email. One of them is asking qualifying question, right? Like if you're pitching Starbucks, ask like, or if you're pitching a dessert company, are you making the desserts in-house, right?
Right.
Short email, yes or no answer, right?
Right.
So that's number 1. Number 2 is then that follow-up where it's a little bit more and they want to get on a call. But we might have put 3 in the bullet points. Is there like an extra like thing to getting the result in the email, or is it just 2 just fine?
Just keep it short and focus on the end result. I mean, they don't really. I do reference ad campaigns in the copy, but the main goal of business owner is the end result.
Yeah.
They don't care if it's SEO or PPC or Facebook ads. If you can get them new clients, it's all that matters. You don't have to go into the whole email saying, "Oh, we use this formula and we use this strategy and we use Facebook ads and this kind of targeting."
Don't care.
They don't care. They just want the end result.
Yeah, it's kind of like when the plumber comes in, he's talking about the pipes. I was like, I don't care, just get the shit out of my bathtub. Like it just solved my problem, right? Very cool. And you mentioned that you use Instagram to get those like emails and stuff like that. But are there other ways? Because we put in the bullet points how to get thousands of email owners.
Yeah, there's other ways. My other favorite tool is D7 Lead Finder. And it's a pretty cool site. It didn't used to come undiscovered when I first started it. I actually discovered D7 Lead Finder back in the Fudge campaign. So nice. And it used to be free. And I know the founder, I think Paul. He lives in Spain, and it's a pretty good site. It used to be free, and it used to be really fast. The whole Cambridge Analytica thing kind of, I don't know exactly how it affected that, but he no longer got his data for free, so he had to start paying for it.
Yeah.
And he had to kind of throttle the speeds, but it's still a great site. I mean, if I can copy and paste, say, all 50 states, and come back in a half hour and have email addresses for every business in those states. And it's usually around 3,000 to 4,000 email addresses per search.
Gotcha. So you go on something like a D7 Lead Finder, right? Are there like other alternatives to D7 Lead Finder?
That's the only one I really use. I don't even use that much anymore because I use Instagram. But Hunter.io is good as well.
Yeah.
It's not as good for smaller companies, but if it's a larger, more established company with a domain and a web presence, it works better.
Gotcha. So you go on Hunter.io or D7 or something like that, and you just type in what you're looking for. And whether it's gyms, chiropractors, or dentists, which are being overly targeted, or niche of niches like restaurant equipment or lice removal, you then fire off that qualifying question. And you have to do it by hand, which means you just pay somebody to do it, right? And then you start getting 3 or 4 responses a day or so. Then you're on the phone with them, and then your pitch process begins, right?
Exactly.
Very cool. We've got a couple questions about, I guess people are saying things like Scope Leads and Hunter.io and Lead Carrot. Great, a lot of like alternatives. But Gio has an interesting question, which is like, have you ever used anything other than G Suite to send emails like SendGrid, Mailgun, Postmark, or is that in the same category as like what we mentioned earlier?
A lot of those softwares are tricky because they prohibit cold email. From what I've seen, like a big no-no is never use like MailChimp or whatever like that. Those are they will get banned instantly.
Yeah.
There's a lot more. I know SendGrid at the time when I looked at it a year or two ago, they weren't allowing cold email. That might have changed.
Yeah.
A lot of the softwares don't allow cold email. Like you can't use Amazon, their AWS sending software. They don't allow cold email.
Yeah. Interesting. Very cool. What I would like to go over now is the bullet point that we talked about, which is the 15-minute overview of how you make email campaigns almost always work for the 100+ Facebook ad agencies, right? Yeah. So like from my perspective, meeting somebody in person is a totally different experience than like pitching or meeting them by email, right? And in my limited experience, where like I've only done like 5 or 6 cold emailing, I tend to bomb the pitch because I just don't have that like rapport that comes with like talking to somebody with your whole body, right? So like, is there an overview of agencies that want results from cold emailing that we can talk about, like with all that fun stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. My techniques, I mean, they're kind of stupidly simple. I've heard people call them. I just keep it really simple. I mean, I don't try to complicate the cold email. I don't try to explain everything. You kind of want to pique their curiosity so they're interested.
Yeah.
Like I won't ever bring up pricing in a cold email. I won't ever bring up how I do it or how it's done. I always just focus on the end result. Like I said earlier. But yeah, those are the key. Of just I keep it extremely simple. My emails have gotten shorter.
Yeah.
The longer I do this, and my cold email techniques are constantly evolving. I no longer use the question and answer format for my clients because when you have 50 agency clients, you're going to get a couple hundred replies per client when you're using the question and answer method.
Yep.
I've kind of had to change my copy to scale as I have more clients.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So like if somebody said, hey, PJ, cold emailing sounds awesome, and I don't want to do it, let's say you set up, are they getting replies to their inbox, or do they go through, like, how are they on the receiving end of a successful cold email campaign, I guess, right?
So yeah, we use G Suite for everything. Google domains, we can register a domain for $12.
Yeah.
And G Suite is $6 a month. So we just register a new domain for every campaign. Usually I'll just take the niche. So if I'm targeting like Autoglass, I'll register autoglassprofits.com,
yeah,
plumberprofits.com, and then we just hook it up and do that.
Gotcha. So you'll set up like autoglassprofits.com. Somebody's probably registering that right now, right?
Yeah.
And then they just,
yeah.
right, perfect, right? Then they'll go on to Instagram, search for Autoglass.
Right.
Now they've got the emails, and then they're just manually sending an email to all these people. So that's just 3 easy steps. So everybody watching this can start generating client opportunities
instantly. You can generate calls and appointments quicker using Instagram than you can just a sending software, which is why I like it.
Yeah. Interesting. And you're sending them by DM, or you're collecting the email off of Instagram and then
you can just hit the email button on the profile and just it'll automatically open your mail app on your phone. Type in the subject line question, copy and paste, boom. Takes
perfect.
A minute.
That's absolutely fantastic. That seems simple and easy. Like there's no excuse. That's awesome. I mentioned, or sorry, someone had a question about like warming up an email server. What does that mean, right? Warming up a domain?
So yeah, it really depends. I mean, we never use your primary domain for cold email. That's the biggest thing. You never want to use the domain you use to communicate with clients or you have connected to your website. Yeah. You never want to use that for cold email. For example, my website is from coldtogold.com. I will never cold email from that. I'll register from coldtogold.co or .net or .us. Yeah. And I'll cold email from that. To warm it up, it's a longer process. We kind of more take a churn and burn approach. I do because we're using throwaway domains basically.
Yeah.
But to warm it up, you just want to start sending slowly. I mean, you can send 10 emails one day and then 20 emails the next day, and then for a week send 20 emails and just kind of warm it up. The biggest thing is the age of the domain.
Yeah.
If you can register a domain, you don't always know 6 months that what domain you're going to be using, but just you can register your agency name in .com, .co, .us, .net, and you just let them sit because an aged domain is going to have better delivery than a brand new domain because they can tell. Google knows how, or their spam filters know how old or how new your domain is.
Interesting. So I've got coolbeansdigital.com, right? So I could get .co, .us, .info, .org, right? Yep. All at the same time, knowing that I can start from today and then every 3 months use each one just get older over time and warmed up and stuff like that.
The more age they are, the safer it is you can send in higher amounts.
Interesting. And are you using the same strategy of the qualifying question, get them on the phone with like LinkedIn and Facebook Messenger and all that?
I'm not familiar with those. I'm all cold email. I eat, sleep, and breathe cold email.
Perfect. That's so cool.
Yeah.
If somebody was starting today from zero and they were saying, I want to generate, let's just say 10 appointments a week, what would be their best way to do it? Is it everything that we mentioned, or like do they run into a scaling problem as they get bigger? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you can do everything we mentioned, and I can get manually sending. It's a safe way to get 5 to 10 appointments a day pretty
Yeah.
easily from day one. But yeah, you're gonna. I mean, to scale, you either have to hire out like I did, hire VAs to send,
Yeah.
or you can kind of have a really warmed up domain and try to use a sending software.
So
they're not as reliable though, like I said.
So what I'm hearing is that like the sending softwares used to work very, very effectively.
Yes.
Cambridge Analytica, Facebook, Google, like something happened around January of this year that made sending softwares less effective.
Yeah, not
And,
the Cambridge Analytica. That was for
gotcha. Yeah, gotcha.
Google, yeah, the TensorFlow they rolled out, it's called the software. It's an AI software, I think. That's going to start being less effective.
Gotcha. And so have any like cold emailing agencies have noticed this trend and they're moving to manual, or are they still trying to figure out a better software, or like what is that game like with them?
I don't know many cold email agencies. I don't talk to many of them.
Okay, gotcha.
For us, they were just moving all the manual, but just because it's the quickest and easiest way to get results for our clients. It was taking way too long to get a sending software like Mailshake to work.
Gotcha. And then there's always a new sending software that'll try to beat you on price or something like that.
Right.
Very cool. So you've got a whole team of people that can establish like autoglassprofits.info. Go on Google Domains, set that darn thing up, start sending Instagram or using Instagram to find those people.
Yep.
And then I'm on the receiving end of the replies. Is that correct or no?
Yeah. Well, you have access to the inbox.
Gotcha. I have access to the inbox. And then you'll message me saying, hey, you got 5 replies. Get on it, Jeff.
Our standard process is we get each client has a Google sheet.
Yeah.
So my team will go through every day to go through the inbox, and you'll get their name, first name, last name, email address, phone number, website. We go through the inbox, and if Joe Autoglass suggests I'm interested, my team will basically get all his info and just put it in the Google sheet all in one place.
Gotcha. And then it's up to me to like manually send an email saying, great, let's talk on the phone, schedule all that stuff, right?
We actually do all the scheduling. So we'll schedule
even better.
we do it all.
Very cool. So you'll take a somebody like me saying, hey, I think I can do lice campaigns, right?
Right.
And you'll get 5 to 10 appointments per day, week, month, depending upon the dollars I'm willing to spend on people that might take advantage of a lice Facebook ad campaign, right?
By the time they get to you, I mean, they're pretty qualified. They know it's going to cost money. They know they have to pay for it, and they're interested in running an ad campaign.
Do you mention the dollars that it would cost?
No.
Don't mention the dollars.
I do ask though, because I like I said, my copy has changed. At one point, my copy was how I can bring you people who have a broken windshield when you have time for a call this week.
Yeah.
And that was kind of early on, and I found they just weren't qualified. So they kind of took it a step further and said, hi, I'd like to run an ad campaign to send you people who have a broken windshield and want it fixed.
Yeah.
And that kind of the next evolution was a lineup budget. Would you do you have the budget you can use for an ad campaign?
Interesting. And so, like, you've always been testing like different scripts
My
and stuff
emails
like
are
that.
always changing. Every 3 months, they look completely different than they did 3 months before.
So Donald Moore says TensorFlow is a machine learning library. Imagine being cold emailed by AI that learns from responses. Great. So, all right. So screw Hunter.io and screw all that stuff. Screw the email sending softwares. You can't beat machine learning AI. Ain't going to happen. Right. But this is super interesting. So Geo says, does it matter if you use .info or .xyz or .com? It's all kind of the same when it comes
Does not matter. Does not matter.
Gotcha. This has been super enlightening. I've always been curious about like how the thought process behind cold emailing, because I know when I have an empty slot on my calendar, that's me losing money, right? So I'm just imagining like there's a different way of getting appointments and getting to drop in there, which is like super interesting. We're kind of coming to the end of the interview. So if anybody has any questions now, drop them in the chat. I know there's a little bit of a delay, so we're going to wait for a bit. But if you've got any specific questions now for PJ, drop them in the chat, and we'll make sure we get to them while we're on live and things like that. As it turns out, Troy mentions that he's used your methods to find real estate clients, which is cool. So let me ask you this, PJ. What the hell do you send to a real estate client? Like, do you want 5 more seller leads every month, or is that a different? Right?
No. You want to kind of focus on like, you could ask question, who's your ideal buyer, or what kind of buyers have you worked with in the past? I mean, for real estate, you want to niche down. I've had luck niching down to like bilingual real estate agents.
Yeah.
And you can kind of go into weird niches like land. There's real estate agents who all they do is sell land. So you can kind of niche down into that as well. But yeah, you want to kind of ask them a qualifying question, like I talked earlier, about like who the perfect client is. Something where you can take that info and then add it to your pitch. So if they only want to work with new home buyers, you can kind of ask question, kind of determines that, and then use that in your pitch. If that makes sense.
Very cool. You mentioned that you have between 50 and sometimes up to 100 Facebook ad agencies working with you. How many appointments does the average person or average leads get? Because we put in the Canva like 0 to 1,000 leads a month. I think that's
like total for all. So at one time, it was total for all my clients. It's a lot higher now, but the goal is we try to generate. We have a 5-deal guarantee, meaning that we guarantee they get at least 5. They close at least 5 deals, and to do that, most agencies have around a 25 to 30% closing rate. Yeah. So our goal is to generate at least 30 book calls a month. That's the goal we work towards.
Interesting. So somebody just pays you money, they get booked calls on their calendar. Assuming they aren't the worst person in the world, they're probably going to make it work, right?
Exactly. And it really depends on sales ability and closing skills. Someone who doesn't have any closing skills or weaker closing skills takes them a lot longer. We've had the agencies that have teams behind them. I know a lot of people don't have a team behind them or closers.
Yeah.
They, of course, close deals a lot faster. I think the record is like 2.5 to 3 weeks for closing 5 deals. But Bill Somerville's his name. He has a whole team behind him. He did that very quickly.
Very, very cool. I think you're open to a couple strategy sessions, right? Like 3 15-minute one-on-ones.
Absolutely.
Guys, so like PJ, and I know this interview has been rushed because I think it's super impactful and I want to get to the meat of it. And that's what we did in the beginning. So if you think like getting a one-on-one with PJ is going to help you either set up a cold email campaign, find the niche of niche, get more booked appointments, or have a conversation about how you're supposed to do that Instagram thing and all that fun stuff in search form, or even setting up domains. If you want to have a 15-minute conversation with PJ, he's agreed to having 3 people on a call, which I think is super cool. So if you want to chat with him, just do hashtag PJMyFace, and I'll do an intro between you and 3 other people. And you guys can have a free 15-minute conversation and chatting about all that fun stuff. But we've got a couple more questions that I think we want to go through because they're going to be really, really impactful. We've got somebody that says, can you clarify how Instagram leads are captured? I think you just send an email from the Instagram account. Is that correct?
You just go on the app and you can type in hashtag lice removal. And the other way to find the emails pretty quickly is every industry has an association. There's a chiropractor association, there's a restaurant association, and all those associations have Instagram accounts.
Yeah.
So if you go on Florida Restaurant Association, I believe they have an Instagram, you look at who's following them and who they're following. It's all going to be restaurants.
Perfect.
That's another great way to find email addresses. Or even something like for chiropractors, find a company that supplies chiropractors, or there's like chiropractor table companies. Look at them. They're going to be following chiropractors, and chiropractors are going to be following them.
Fantastic. George Gallegos, who's based out of Miami, says, what do you suggest about when it comes to headlines, getting open rates, and things like that?
I just use question. That's the only so much I use.
Just question. Perfect. Yep. That's awesome. Have you ever experienced using these contacts in email sequence? Like somebody signs up and then you put them in an email sequence. Is that worked at all? You haven't tried that out?
I've seen sequences. It's not something I use. I've just seen so many agencies do it so poorly. It's like they send out an email with a sequence, or they sent the first email, and the second email is, "Did you get my last email?" And the email is, "Did you get my last email?" And it's like poking the bear. On the 3rd or 4th email, they're just gonna go off on you. So I don't use sequences myself. I don't even follow up that much, to be honest. And that's like something that everyone says you should do. I don't, because my email is so simple. They're either going to be interested or not.
Gotcha. And so you don't recommend an agency do a sequence with this until after maybe you've talked to them on the phone or something like that?
Right.
Is there a problem with spam compliance when it comes to this type of stuff?
Can spam, everyone's worried about can spam GDPR. The biggest thing with can spam is, as long as you honor after someone says, stop emailing me, as long as you stop emailing them, you're within basically can spam. It's kind of more simplified version of that. But can spam, from the research I've done and the people I've talked to, was basically passed to make sure if you ask a company to stop emailing you, that they stop emailing you.
Gotcha.
That's the biggest thing. It's just a courtesy. I mean, it's just being polite.
That's interesting. So the whole problem with can spam really isn't that big of a deal. I know everybody freaked out when it comes to GDPR. Yeah. And what you're saying is that it's really not that big of a deal. It's just kind of like
can spam is they can't. It's not a law that's easily enforced.
Gotcha.
Someone can't sue you for undercanned spam. It actually has to be taken up with like a state attorney general or the attorney general of the United States. They're the only people who can actually initiate like those type of lawsuits.
Gotcha. I can't pronounce his name correctly, says, is it important to use a dedicated email for each industry? For example, leads@medspa.com. Does that matter at all?
It doesn't matter. I personally do it, but it doesn't really matter.
Gotcha. Very cool. Well, we've got a bunch of people that said PJ my face. I'll just say their names out loud just so it's on the record and people know. And I want Julian Strong, Jerry the Red, and Alex Thompson to look out for a message over the weekend. For me, I'll intro to PJ directly, and you guys can like figure out all that fun stuff, whether it's like 3 one-on-ones or group call or something like that. I think it'll be really, really cool. We're coming down to the end of this, but I think this has been like really impactful because like we've been telling people to do these things. And if you just simply set up like autoglassprofits.info, hashtag autoglass, find people's emails and send a cold email with the title question, and then one of those niched subject lines, you will get responses and you will move your agency in the right direction, which is very, very, very darn cool. So like if they don't do it, they won't get the result. So just go do it, guys. Donald says something like, what about buying and selling email lists? How does that work? Is that kosher? What are your thoughts about that?
You can do it. I mean, I built a whole business. I built a very nice business doing it. But again, you're not going to have much repeat business because most agencies have no clue how to cold email. Gotcha. I had over 150 agencies as clients, but most of them, they're one-time clients because they had no clue how to cold email and couldn't get results with it. Yeah. I had a new feedback startup who paid me like $5,000 for a list of email addresses, and they didn't take any of my advice. They just blast out this long generic email to this list and just complain they didn't get any results and blame the list.
Yeah, because they just didn't know how to properly cold email.
Right, and that's the biggest thing. Most agencies don't know how to cold email, and that's I kind of set out to teach them how to do it. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to cold email at all. Like I'm good at talking to people and then turning that into money. I can't do anything else, right? One of the last questions that we're going to take is by Corinne. And Corinne says, do you ever send them to a landing page in that email, or is it just simply text, or what do those emails look like?
Yeah, I never put a link in the first email. In the second email, I'll send a calendar link to get them on a call. Yeah. But the only time I'll put a link in the email is like in my signature. So I'll put like I had a client, we put his website link in the signature, and his traffic went up like 500x.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I think that's it. This has been very, very interesting for me, by the way, because like the steps that you're going through are quite simple. It's a repeatable process. It makes a lot of sense. And because you're leading not with a bait and switch, but with a problem, it kind of lines up with what agency owners are usually trying to do. We're just trying to solve problems. You just happen to use Facebook ads to do it, which is kind of interesting. And I think like lines up very, very well. This has been absolutely fantastic for me. Is there anything like last comments, question, concerns, thoughts, or ideas from your end? Like anything along those lines?
Keep it simple. I mean, cold email works. It's not, I know there's sexier things out there to get clients, but it's tried and sure and it works.
Perfect. Don't hang up. We're going to debrief and all that fun stuff, but it's been absolutely fantastic. Ladies and gents, look out for that intro between me, you, and PJ, the 3 people that I mentioned. Again, don't put links in your email. Make it short and sweet and easy yes qualifying question. And all of a sudden stuff's going to work. So PJ, thanks again. Don't hang up. I'm going to end the broadcast. Everybody, see you later. Bye.